Hello everyone, welcome to the next installment of the Train Talks, and today I have my entire Pennsylvania and Florida Eastern locomotive fleet out on the layout today, and in the background I have a train running so that I can do some running shots later in the video. So I'm going to go through each locomotive. I don't have every single locomotive out. Some of the stuff is out of the era, especially over there with my high-speed trains, and some that are inside my storage area. I'm not going to show any of the freight cars because it would pretty much cover a lot more space inside the circle. It would be difficult for me to navigate and put stuff away once it's time to put stuff away. It took me a while to get these all open, maybe like an hour or so. It'll probably take me an hour to put things back. As you can see, it's definitely grown since last time. If you've seen the short video of the original, some stuff is new, some stuff is gone. Not really much stuff is gone actually, but everything is subject to change with this fleet update. So over here, we're going to start with this New York Central locomotive here, which is kind of out of place, but let's just say that Pennsylvania and Florida Eastern got a donation from the New York Central, since Pennsylvania doesn't really want to get rid of a lot of their steam, although in real life they did get rid of their modern steam and didn't preserve that much. Let's say for some reason there was a change of heart and a locomotive was saved and one of the Dreyfuss Hudsons were saved. And since the routes between Florida and Philadelphia is rather, I would say flat, but flat enough. So I think a Hudson would be able to handle that. Probably for a lot of the journey, especially in the Florida region. But it's nonetheless a great locomotive that I really wanted, actually. And like real life terms, I got the locomotive because I really wanted to drive this, and I thought it was very beautiful, and I got the latest one from Broadway, and it's a very solid runner. It seems strange that it was the first Paragon 4 locomotive, like from the factory, and yet technically it's a Paragon 3, but Paragon 4 name on the box. It's strange. It really is strange because it does have the keep alive, and the sounds are all right. It's Broadway, you know. It's got like 10, 20-year-old QSI sounds or something that's been updated slightly. But I still appreciate some of the new whistles they add, especially one of the alternative whistles that you can do by pressing F22. Right next to it, we have a NJ Custom Brass Q1. It's interesting. That engine will not probably be running on this layout in the future. I almost did at one point, but I didn't feel like it was worthy to put in the video since it just didn't run smoothly. It's nobody's fault, really. Brass is just not the easiest things to work with. Again, you're dealing with something that's completely metal. And to modify it to an extent can or cannot really do. You're limited to the limitations, and with the amount of skill that you have, and it's just one of those things, like, you know, you either know how to work with it or you don't, and it's just gonna have to sit there for a while, or you don't. It doesn't work. It doesn't go at all. Currently, it can be able to run, but it shorts out a lot because there's something inside there that's causing a short, and I believe I can fix it by isolating what's causing the short. I think it's internal, not really external, but if it does become external, if I fix the internal, I'm going to have to not touch it and just wait a while. Right next, we have two Broadway Limited Q2s. They're both different numbers. One's a 6187 and one's 6195. I had to get two. Main reason why I have two, and it doesn't seem that very great of a reason, but I got two because I always wanted to double head two Q2s, and I was very inspired by one of the older videos that I think was the only video at the time where some guy had one of the Q2s that were made in the production run and the prototype 6131 and the double head lash up on a layout, and it was very cool. I'm not sure if these were prototypical to double head in real life, but you know, you could always look into archives to figure out if they really did or not. And to be honest, I don't really mind. It's really cool to have two of these monsters. They're definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, locomotive that the Pennsylvania had. They're just, overall length is pretty much the same, if not maybe smidge longer than a T1. But I have plans for one of them. I'm planning on having somebody 3D print a bullet nose that is similar to the Q1 to go on one of the Q2s. So it'll be interesting. Some people might think that's the dumbest thing ever, but it's just an experimental thing I might want to try. It's obviously going to be like you could swap out the fronts and whatnot, but if anything, I'll probably not do anything much at all with it. Who knows? It's just a plan, but these are really great locomotives. Obviously, one of my favorites, and they might get TCS WOW upgrades in the future. Next, we have a Paragon 3 J1. I opened one of these up, and I'll have to do a future review on this to talk about what this locomotive has. Sorry, there's a cat that got stuck inside the storage area. He might be a pain in the ass, but we'll see what happens. But as we can see, the J1, I found that there's a 3-pole motor in there, and interesting enough, it is a Walther's train line motor, one of the older ones that were in the early train line Alco PAs. Not PAs, I mean FAs. So it's interesting. They're okay motors. They're solid. They'll run. It's just that it's not a 5-pole motor. And some people are like, well, you know, 3 poles are pretty good, and they are. But when it comes to modern standards, they should really be having 5-pole motors for a premium model. I mean, yes, the J1's design and pretty much tooling hasn't changed since, heck, I would say even the PCM days. It's been around since Paragon. So, but it's still, in my opinion, a nicely detailed locomotive. It's not highly detailed like some of the other locomotives that I have from Broadway, but in my opinion, it represents very well of what it's trying to represent. And next we have two T1s. One of them on the left is a Blue Line T1, and the other one on the right is a Paragon 3. I don't know what kind of motor it has in there. I believe it's from the factory, and I also believe it has another one of those Walther's train line motors. I haven't opened it up, so I cannot confirm that. I might contact Broadway at some point just to give me a 5-pole motor that will fit in here. And the right one, the one with the as delivered pilot, I'll probably do that just to not have to deal with it. I mean, it's still a solid motor. It still runs fine. I haven't had any major issues with it or anything, but it's just one of those things, you know. It's supposed to be a premium model. The model is like around $400. You know, you should be giving, you know, pretty much one of the highest qualities and one of the highest, you know, well, not really the highest, but really the more recent, you know, motor designs and whatnot. That is top line quality and reliability. The T1 duplex on the left, I haven't opened up, but I also believe is a 5-pole motor, since it's one of the earlier models. seem to have like the 5-pole, and for some reason Paragon 3 Broadway seemed to cheap out and put 3-pole motors inside their models. And I have to say, why did you do that? Why would you do that? You're supposed to make premium models and you put 3-pole motor. I can't ramble on about this. It is stupid in my opinion. It really is stupid, and I really hope Broadway doesn't do something stupid like that ever again. I mean, now in Paragon 4 they're using 5-pole motors and they're not using 3-pole motors, but please do not ever do that again. You're supposed to sell high quality products, you know, and you guys are doing it at a fair value. It's sometimes not the greatest depending on the model, but in certain models that I haven't gotten yet, it could be improved. I believe there is a lot more improvement, and I feel like I know I'm rambling on and I should move on to the next locomotive, but I feel like they could do a lot better. Next we have a Walthers Proto, or a Lifelike Proto 2000 Heritage steam engine. This is a Y3 on the North Fork and Western, but on the Pennsylvania it is classified as an HH1. Only about 3 or 6 of these were made. They were all scrapped at a certain time, but this one was considered saved on my railroad. It's a fictional railroad, by the way. And I like this locomotive. I had it run during the fair, and it ran very well, actually, until the layout, given its age, 30 years old, and having banked curves that were not really made that well, decided that it's going to derail anything that's a large locomotive. So, especially steam engines. Steam engines are just sensitive in general. But nonetheless, it's a great locomotive. It has a TSU2 inside. It's fairly well. However, to be honest, when it comes to Tsunami, it doesn't have that clarity for steam. It just feels like it's in a muffled speaker, or it's like it's got outdated sounds, in my opinion. That's just me. I don't know. And yes, I do have Broadway. What am I talking about? I have a lot of Broadway engines that have outdated sounds, but in terms of the clarity, it just does not sound, I guess, realistic in that term when it comes to the chuffing sounds. It just, in real life, I've heard steam sounds, and I've seen, you know, top quality sound videos on YouTube and I'm pretty sure they sound a lot better in real life. Also, the steam engines are what they really sound like. And it's just, and to be honest, I like TCS well, but however, I don't think there's just enough going on compared to TSU. I think TSU's got a lot more sounds going on when this engine's standing still, because for some reason, when my TCS engines are standing still, they're just fairly quiet, and I think that's true to a lot of steam engines. There's not a lot really going on when they're standing still. They're not humming like a diesel. I mean, you might hear some like valve releases and stumps and the air pump, but you know, steam engines seem to be rather quiet. And yes, the dynamo makes sound too, but if you don't have the dynamo on, it seems to be that steam engines are not too incredibly loud. However, I mean, the closest steam engine I've been is the ones at Disney World, and they are real steam engines. I don't even know if they have a dynamo, but they seem fairly quiet until they're moving and they're doing other sorts of things. Anywho, the next locomotives we have are 2 I-1 SAs with the long haul or coast to coast tender, or I like to call them C2Cs. Isn't that funny? C2C, coast to coast, and then you had the letter C, number 2, and then C2C. It's weird. It just works. So the C2C tenders, I really like. I really like these engines with the C2C tenders. They can do long haul like coal trains and whatnot. So that's really cool. I got 2 of them because I want to do double heading with them. A lot of I-1s did a lot of double heading, especially going over mountains and whatnot. I did not get a short tender one, and I used to have a short tender one with the red roof, or the Tuscan red roof. I sold it. It was a QSI one, and to be honest, I just did not want to deal with the possible breakage of the gears. from a QSI locomotive. Not all of them have that issue, but it's just one of those things where you want to have the least amount of maintenance as possible, but you still have to maintain them, obviously, but I don't want to have to deal with the risk of QSI locomotive and then having to find parts for it. And yeah, I believe, and I don't want to be wrong, but I'm just going to say, I think actually that you can use later models gears to swap them out, or like the drive gear from one of the drive wheels that have an axle gear. The axle gear could probably be replaced with a modern axle gear. However, I can't really confirm that since I don't have any like tools to see if the tolerances meet. So there isn't any binding or grinding or anything like that. So just take that with a grain of salt. These are the Paragon 4 ones. They're brand new, and I do not run their smoke. And you probably wonder why. If you're not aware about Broadway's new comeuppings, a lot of their plastic body locomotives and their newer runs, especially in Paragon 4 and their Paragon 3, I believe Y6 and A-Class, Norfolk and Western engines, are having their smoke boxes melting. Now, there could be a multitude of reasons for this. One of them is that the smoke unit gets too hot and it melts these old tooling boilers. Or the plastic material used for these models is cheap and it's not really great for these shells to withstand the heat sometimes. So, cats being a cat, you gotta love cats. Back on track, yes, the plastic is just one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh. But, yeah, I just do not run the smoke. I don't want to run the risk of having to send these engines back just to get their shells replaced and the smoke unit replaced. It is, I can't. Come on, Broadway. This is ridiculous. First, you fix the motor issues, and then you solve some of the electronic problems. But now you guys went a step forward, and you went 2 steps back. This needs to end. Otherwise, other companies that seem to want to capitalize on the steam market, which, by the way, is actually kind of declining slowly. It's not declining super fast, but it's declining slowly because, the targeted audience that used to remember Steam pretty much are like dying out. And there's really not too much of a reason for Steam to be prominent as it used to be. Because back then, when there used to be a lot of Steam models made, Steam was still remembered and almost still around. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But who knows? I am very hopeful that other companies like Scale Trains comes around to really kick Broadway in their keister and show them how it's done, and then gets Broadway to start thinking about alternatives to get their act together on certain things. So the next locomotive we have is a Sam Hongsa, I believe, GEM N1 SA. So the N1 is a very massive engine. It is bigger than an I1. It is huge. As you can see, it is a massive locomotive. Firebox is bigger. Boiler is bigger. I have to think that the N1, it has a different boiler, a very unique boiler. And I believe it's a bigger boiler too. I don't know what other locomotive the N1 had its boiler with. I think it's a whole thing on its own, and hence why it's not that very well known, and hence why none of them were tried to be saved or compatible with other locomotives to share their design. So it's a unique model. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one. I might try to install DCC. However, I'm just very against brass right now. Trying to work on brass engines. I mean, the brass hybrids I'm okay with because they're designed to have some plastic elements to them, and these older brass engines, they're just so finicky. They are finicky models, and I really I don't have the patience to work on stuff that requires me to completely dismantle it to try and figure out what's the issue. And sometimes you don't have to. It's again, I just kind of had this mindset where I really don't want to really work with brass that much. I'd rather work with kit bashing and making my own custom models with plastic shells and whatnot, and modifying some like die-cast chassis than working with brass. And it's a shame that there's not a lot of like plastic kit steam engines out there that I can replace with these brass models, chassis or whatnot. Or like switcheroo some stuff. Like I could keep the shell of the brass model, but I don't have to deal with like other. I could replace like the chassis with something that's insulated, for the frame. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to use with the N1. I'm pretty sure N1s were gone during the 1950s or something. I think somebody told me that, so I'm probably not sure what I'm going to use with the N1 unless something happens. I don't know. It's just, do I really want the N1? And right now I'm not sure, and probably not later on. But we'll see. We'll see. The next one we have an L1. L1's I believe shares the same boiler as the K4. I'm not sure about the firebox, but they're pretty similar in size, the L1 and the K4. I wouldn't be surprised if they share because they're really similar. Right now this is not a really good comparison, but if we look at the Bachmann K4 and the L1, they seem very similar in size. So this is a Paragon 3 model. This is an early one. This is when they had like similar to the Athearn style with the ice cube combined with foam in the box. And I'm not sure why Broadway went away with that. They did that for a couple models, and they're like, you know what, we're going to cheapen out. And it's like, okay. It's not horrible, but I don't know. Money, what are you going to do, right? Next one, we have a Paragon 3 K4S Streamline. And I had to get one of these. This is a beautiful model. I had one of these in O gauge. It was a great runner. It was from NTH. It was an O gauge one, and I had to get one. Of course, it's the only numbered one that had the full streamlining. I believe it's 3768 or 3678 or something like that. One or the other. But yeah, this is the bronze one. I didn't get the DGLE one because, I don't want just DGLE everything, especially steam. I just don't want DGLE everything. So I got the bronze one, and it's a very beautiful engine, and it runs. Before I updated it to an HO400A, I was very disappointed with its performance. It was constantly stopping, and I was like, eventually I might transition over. I have to see what's inside this thing as well. I have to see if it's got one of those 3-pole motors from Walther's train line as well. It's just disappointing. And if not, it's okay. I can live with the 3-pole motor. These things are not like running at my club during the fair like every single day of the week for like 12 hours to then get lubed in and put away for storage until next year. It's just. These don't run like for like forever like the other guys do. At my club, they're mainly diesels that do this, and they're all Catos and Walthers and Atlas stuff. So that if that doesn't tell you something, that should tell you something now, because when you want reliability, you want stuff that will last a very long time if you want to run a commercial layout. But it's a great running locomotive now. I do run it at the club once in a bit. Right now we can't run anything again because the layout is needing in repairs again because it's falling apart. Next, we have a Bachmann K. Actually, we got 3 Bachmann K4s here, and you're probably wondering why I don't have any Broadway ones. Well, the Broadway ones that people keep trying to sell are too expensive, and I technically want the later ones so I can work on them later, and so I can have someone that can be compatible with this one. Otherwise, I'd have to get 2 TCS WOW decoders and then hardwire them in. But yeah, I have they're nice. These are nice models. These are pretty solid models. These are one of Bachmann's best models, even from like 10, 12 years ago. These are amazing. This K4 is one of the more recent ones. This is the semi-streamlined K4 in the later years, during the 1940s, when they made some more streamlined K4s. And these are nice models. I like them. The motor's slightly weak, but I could figure out, if I open up this model and figure out what motor it has, I could probably buy more and just swap out this one's motor and put that one in there and have that strength so that it can pull like these two do. Because these guys, they can pull anything almost by themselves. Like, these are the ones that have not come out yet. They're doing another run of these. But these guys, I have a 1361 and 5442 over here. This is a pre-war, and obviously this is a post-war one. 1361's post-war. And this was my first Box 7 TCS WOW kit conversion. It was fun. It was obviously not everything goes to plan. Sometimes you have some oh boy kind of moments, but it wasn't too bad. I had a great time doing it, and I'm probably going to do the same thing with this one. This one has just a regular economy soundtracks, almost TSU kind of hybrid or in between factory installed decoder in here, and it's fine. It will go bad eventually, especially the speakers. So I'm probably gonna get another one and maybe even triple head these at some point. That would be fun. That would be a sight to behold. But yeah, these are solid models. I had to get two. I'll probably do some red painting on the decking, and same thing with the Streamline K4s to do Tuscan red decking on the back. And then the next 2 engines, we have more Broadways. These are Paragon 2 H10s. These are really solid locomotives. They're probably one of Broadway's best made locomotives. They have Paragon 2 decoders. They don't have a keep alive, so if they smell dirt, they're gonna stop. It's just the nickname of Broadway. So, what do I have to say about them? They're great. I like them. I haven't ran them that much lately, mainly because I'm just so busy lately. I have work, and they're pretty much ragging me out a lot. And, I got other things to do, like family and whatnot, and it's just a lot going on. It's the balanced life and the jumble it around. So that's pretty much the steam fleet. We have about, I think, 17 engines here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, actually 18, I'm sorry. 18 steam engines here. That's a lot of engines. Am I going to get any more steam engines? Yes, I am going to get more steam engines for Pennsylvania. It does not seem to end. But some will probably go in this fleet, and there might be less next time than before. I'm pretty sure some people might have an idea, and I think one of my watchers already knows which ones are going to be going. But most of the stuff will probably stay the same. There might be 1 or 2 engines leaving the steam fleet, and there will be an engine gained back. There is another locomotive, again from Broadway, that Broadway is making soon. That is another Pennsylvania model that I really want to get. And some people are like, well, why are you getting it? It's not really part of the post-war era. I'm like, well, it survived the post-war era, and it was being used on the Strasbourg. So, even on my fictional railroad, yes, this locomotive would still be around, including the other locomotives that have survived scrapping. So, yes, that locomotive, those who can put 2 and 2 together, will be joining my fleet. So they'll be fun. And hopefully Broadway continues making Penske locomotives. Regardless if people are getting tired of Penske or not, it's in the name Broadway Limited Imports, everyone. Of course they're going to be Penske-centered.
It's just how it is, and I'm hoping at some point an S2. At the right price, I might consider it an S2. It's unique, you know. It's, let's say they saved it just for fun purposes, I guess. It was a failure, but you know, it ran and did its thing. Now we're going to go on part of this diesel fleet, and the diesel fleet has indeed grown, and it has shrunk a little because, as you can see, there's no Erie Builts here anymore. The Erie Builts got sold to my club to be used and abused, and I believe the only other thing I had was the Baldwin Sharks, and they're over there, down there, the RF-16s. But we do have some more Sharks here, so we'll get into that by starting with the Baldwin Centipedes. These guys are massive. They are about 90, 93 feet long. They are huge. They're bigger than any steam engine I have in my fleet. They are ginormous. They're probably 2 H10s, or maybe even a little bit, even more than 2 H10s locomotives long. They're probably about 2 K4s long as well. It is just absolutely astonishing how big these things are. And I'm probably going to get one more set. This is an AA set I got for around $200, and they run solid. Obviously, there's some details that need to be fixed, like the horn, and pretty much that's it. I want to get a single stripe one for freight, and these guys will be relegated to passenger, although both of them can be used for whatever purpose, really. Although in the historical books, 5 stripes were passenger, and the single stripes went to freight. Next, we have Alco Brass BP20s. These are not 100% accurate to their real thing. The nose is too short. They actually had a longer nose. And I can't really tell what else is wrong. Anyways, it doesn't really bother me. I got these to work on them as an experiment. However, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them since I got these guys over here, which I'll get to in a bit. They're cool. They're around the same size. They're about maybe 10 or so, 10 to 15 feet shorter than the Centipedes. And yes, these locomotives are around 80-something feet, like 80, 85 feet long. The BP20s. They were huge 6-axle locomotives. They were pretty much the same size as an SD80. They're very, very massive. So they're really cool. I got these. I originally wanted Oriental limited ones, and because they were pretty much accurate. But that's like the only other company that made BP20s. And I saw some on eBay, and they were just way too high in value. Somebody was bidding them like obscenely high, and I'm like, I can't. I know, this is ridiculous. And even on BrassTrains.com, they're just ridiculously priced. And yes, their brass are rare, and they're probably the most popular since they're the most accurate. And I'm guessing there's not too much you have to do to convert them to DCC, and have to deal with a lot of shorting and whatnots. I have a solution to this problem, and it is over there. And to be honest, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these. I like them. I got them from Performance Locomotives. He's a YouTuber who has a lot of Broadway engines. He has a lot of Pennsylvania too. I'll probably give you a link to his channel in the description. He's got some pretty cool stuff. I got it for him for like $400, and they're pretty cool. However, it's really empty inside here, and to really modify them, I would have to modify the chassis. I would have to cut rectangular holes on the frame, and I do not feel comfortable doing that, to be honest with you. Again, it's just one of those brass models. I don't know if I have like the courage to really work on it. I don't think it was going to be that super difficult, and I didn't know what it looked like under here, so I guess I didn't know what I was getting into. However, they run pretty fine. It's just that the problem is the front pilot truck, or the front truck on the A unit cannot turn that well.
you would have to either clip the staircases or something in order to make it be able to traverse curves. They had a tough time going around these curves too, but they do run. It is noisy, but they do run. This one's a dummy. It just has regular passenger car kind of wheels under there. There's no geared box or anything in there, and that's a shame. I guess for the cheapness, but they're really nice. You could if you want to really modify these, you could. They're really nice. These are well painted too. There's no train foam, but you know, anybody can work on these if they wanted to. Next we have E-units. We have Broadway Limited Paragon 3 E-units. This one's a dummy, but that can always be converted, or I'll just probably leave it a dummy and just swap out the electronics in the A unit. Because, once again, I don't know what's in here, and it does not always want to work, especially on a club layout. Broadways just do not like dirty track people. It is what it is. Alright, we're at 36 minutes right now, so if you haven't clicked off already, we've got still ways to go. And then we'll do some running stuff with the train rushing by, and you get to see like a wall of engines with the passenger train in the background going around. So we got E7. I don't know why we're going out of focus. That was strange. Sorry about that. But we got an E7A and an E7B, and in the back we have a Walthers Proto E8A. Now that one I got for $100 and has DCC and sound. And some probably shitting their pants like, how did you get it? I'll talk about that at some point. Not right now. But it's an interesting story, even though I've been rambling on a bunch of other things. These I got from some guy who worked on these, and these are custom made. These were using two shells of, I don't know what he used. I'm pretty sure it's Model Power, but probably Model Power Sharks, and he fused two bodies together to make miniature BP-20s. These are about 65 feet long, so they're about 10, 20 feet shorter than these over here. I'll probably add more custom details in the future. I might strip the paint. I know a guy who can really strip the paint well, so that might help. Or I might just leave them the way they are and just keep adding details to them. Or might redo some of the details. These guys are right now sit on Alco PA chassis and frame and trucks from, say, Ather and Blue Box. Yes, Ather and Blue Box, the first generation ones when they had the metal drive trucks. Now I'm thinking about swapping these with the second generation, but I tried fitting these on the Walthers mainline chassis, and I have to say these are close to fitting on there. All I have to do is do some modifications. So I'm probably thinking about buying a DC set of a PA-PB set, and just modifying the shells of these a little bit, just grinding them on the inside just a little bit so that the shells can slap on top of the Walthers mainline chassis, so I can easily put DCC and sound in there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of right now. Instead of using Athearn chassis from their Blue Box series. So that's probably what might happen. And right now I'm really thinking about doing that, just buying another, because that's what they pretty much can fit on is the Alco chassis. But they're still massive diesels. They're still big, and they're really cool. These custom ones. I'm gonna keep them. I might keep them the same paint, and I'll have to do some modifications so I can have the couplers to work correctly under these, and might add some more ladder detail on the bottom so that they look better. But yeah, these are gonna be a fun project. I think I'm more confident with these than brass. They're just easier to work with. Some people might disagree, but yeah, I think they're gonna be fun. Right now we have the Walthers mainline DCC and sound A and B set. They're both DCC and sound, and they both run. They're sound. They got economies in there. They're fine. I might swap them out with TCS WOW soundboards or something. Just swap the boards out with the TCS WOW with the Keep Alive capacitors on each end, and just slap them in here, and just rewire everything. Because I like the Alco sounds. I really like the Alco sounds on the TCS has nice diesel sounds. Some people were like, well, ECU. I'm like, yeah, ECU, but man, TCS has some really good diesel sounds, guys. Check them out. I'm serious. They're great. Speaking of TCS, wow. These are Trueline Trains C-liners, Fairbanks Morris C-liners. Unfortunately, TCS does not have any Fairbanks Morris prime movers, which is a big sad in my opinion. But, there's a big but here. I did a little of freelancing by saying in my fictional world that their prime movers got swapped with 608 Baldwin diesel prime movers. And they sound nice. They sound really nice. They do not have Keep Alive since they had a 21-pin board, and I might have to add a Keep Alive somehow, so I'm going to have to figure out how to add a Keep Alive inside these and wire it and hardwire it to the board or something like that, because I don't like it when the sounds restart. I just don't like it. So, but it's good for the locomotive to keep running and not have to keep stopping because of the power loss. So I guess the sounds like cutting out is okay, but they run reliably even with the 21-pin board. So yeah, I have to say these are really good. These are really fine models. I'll probably add a train phone kit to the A unit, painted DGLE, and then yeah, this is a pretty fun model. There's no interior, but that's okay. I mean, you can only do so much with some of these first generation diesels. Speaking of first generation diesels, we are at my favorite diesels right here. It's my ABBA set of the Baldwin RF16s with the 608A prime movers. I love these. They're great. Both A units are powered. The B units are not, but that's okay. They're pretty tough. They might not pull everything that the club has, but that's okay. They can pull my freight trains really well because they're Bowser and they roll really nice. Not a lot of friction. But I swapped them out with HO 400A's boards from Broadway, so they're pretty much Paragon 4 boards in there. They used to be HO 300E's. Yes, HO 300E's used to be in here, and they did not like my club. They kept stopping and starting again, and I hate that. I don't like it. So they have some Keep Alive in here, and they ran very well in my club. They're not approved yet for fair usage, but they seem to be very reliable locomotives. I love how they perform, and they're very beautiful, and they're probably the best, if not, well, they're the, who else is gonna disagree? These are the best Baldwin RF16s on the market. If you could find them for a great price, get them. These are great. I'm not supporting Broadway. I just like RF16s. If you like RF16s, I highly recommend getting them. These are nice. You might have to do HO4A swap, but they are very, very nice models. What I would do is, if you don't want to do a HO4A swap, wait until Paragon 4 comes out, and who knows when these will come out in Paragon 4. And when they do, I plan to get an ABA Tuscan Red set, and I want to get an AB single stripe set. Obviously, I want the AB set of the single stripe to be both powered, so they have more pulling power. And the ABA set, I don't mind if the AB Tuscan Red is powered A unit, unpowered B unit, and powered A unit. But it's for passenger service and model power. Obviously had them in Tuscan Red at some point. Yeah, these are fine models. Next I have Bachmann FA2s, Alco FA2s to be exact. And these are fine. These were both used, so they had some squealing going on. And I'm guessing whoever had these before did not really lubricate these all too very well. So I had to do some internal workings in there, and they seem to be really quiet. However, I am reluctant to using these on the club layout. But I do have spare units to swap the motors in. I do have the L and N models, and they'll probably be used as parts for these models right here. Might get I kind of do want to get another B unit so I can have an ABB unit. Obviously powered and installed DC sound. I like putting DC sound in my stuff. Okay, I like the sounds. I like stuff. I don't like quietness all the time. Really, I like stuff making sounds. I like something to have a function and a purpose. It just adds more like realism to have more sound, I guess. Some may agree, and some be like, well, it's excessive. And I have to agree on certain things, but on other things, I'm like, look, I like sound because, well, it makes the locomotive feel alive. Unfortunately, this guy over here, which I really like this model. This is a Bowser model right here, and this is my first Bowser model, and it runs really well. It's got a small motor in there, interesting enough, and it's got a DCC ready board when I first got it, and I put temporarily a ESU lock pilot decoder in there, 21-pin decoder in there, and I have to figure out which speaker kit can go in here. There is a enclosure, but I need to find a speaker that can go in there so I can wire it to the board and get a 21-pin decoder to go in there. I'm leaning towards TC as well because their Baldwin prime movers are absolutely killer. It's a really beautiful model. It has Katy couplers installed, and it's got interior with a crew in there, the engineer, and it's got a train phone on it. It's a very nice little Baldwin switcher, and it's my first diesel switcher. There might be more diesel switchers in the future. I'm not sure how far of an extent I will go. So yeah, this is a really nice model. I'm really glad I got it, and that pretty much wraps up the diesel fleet at the moment. There's stuff that'll be subjected to change, as always. And finally, we're reaching the end of my Pennsylvania, Florida Eastern fleet right now. And there's nothing been changed with the electric locomotives. Unfortunately, there's no B1s made by Broadway. I do not want to get the brass ones. I've seen them, and I'm already kind of squirming about brass. Some people are like, well, brass is not that bad. Well, guess what? I don't have a CNC machine. I don't have a lot of experience with metalwork. Wire work, I have experience, but with metalworking and is another step that I have to get to at some point. Currently, I just want something to work on, not too simple, but reliable enough. It's not a bad thing to make something simple for anybody to work on. It's not bad. That's what I like about Toyota. They were simple to work on and to fix. Their engineers thought for the customer to be able to solve, because Toyota knew people wanted to tinker on things, and that's just a understanding from the car world too, like model trains. You want someone that's simple to tinker on, that the engineers or the designers of these models can encourage you to work on things, and that's what I like. That's why I like those DCC ready boards, or those DC locomotives are like, even the DC locomotives, they knew already back then to make things isolated, even though they were plastic models. And all you have to do is just figure out how to wire, where you're supposed to wire things, and there you go. You can start modifying it. And since it was plastic, you can use plastic glue, and it's just, you don't have to solder anything. You don't have to do too much soldering or anything, and that's a whole other thing on its own when it comes to brass. But that's why I prefer the plastic body models, or stuff like these. These are die-cast bodies. The GG1 right here. It's another Broadway. It's a Paragon 3. It's a pretty good model. However, I don't know. Again, I believe a lot of these Paragon locomotives have 3-pole motors. I'm not sure about the Baldwins. I believe they are definitely 5-pole. I have looked inside them, and they do look like to be 5-pole motors. So, I really think Broadway needs to step up their game and to not go 2 steps back when they making a step forward improvement. However, these models are nice. The P5As are the box cabs. I really like box cabs. I think they're really nice locomotives. They're very European in design. It's funny because I look at the modern European locomotives, and if you look at them, yeah, they look rather streamlined, but they're technically box cabs at the end of the day. I mean, it is what they are, and the cabs are really close towards the front, and same with the modern locomotives like the ACS 64. So, you know, say what you will, they're pretty similar in philosophy. And I just love them. I love double-heading these box cabs. They look cool when they're double-heading, and they have been double-headed in real life. The triple-heading with the GG1 is kind of difficult. It seems to be that the decoders are just different in some way, and I believe it's because I don't know which HO300 series boards are in these, and I don't know what's inside the GG1, so eventually I'll have to open these up and figure it out, or speed match them, or I don't know. I'm okay with the electric. I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually fond of the electric sounds on the Broadway locomotives, for the electric locomotives. Some people are like, but they're fine. I wouldn't put the Broadway sounds in like other models like this ACS 64 going by, or my TGV train sets, but you know, because Broadway doesn't make any sounds for anything like that, or that ACS 64. But it's different. So with these, and I don't know if Broadway's going to make any more electrics. It seems like the only two electrics they'll make is the GG1 or the P5A box cab, and they hope they do a B1. I think the B1 it would be a smart third option electric. I mean, yeah, it's tiny. I'll be surprised how they do it. It'll be kind of hard, but I would get a couple of them. I would get two. Why two? Because they come in sometimes two sets. Like one of them acts as the first end, and the other one acts as the other one, and it can be articulated electric, even though they were separate units in themselves that it could be used. They're really interesting, those electric switchers. But yeah, we pretty much reached the end of this fleet update. That is it is huge. This is a lot of locomotives. And some people are like, I don't think you need to buy anymore. And you know what? I agree to a certain extent. It just depends. I mean, anything is subject to change. I could downsize. And I'm thinking about downsizing a little. And I believe some people might have an idea of which locomotives I'm going to downsize on. So, yeah, these are very nice models. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you stuck around this far, I got a little clip at the end where we got some scenes of the ACS 64 pulling a commuter train around these wonderful locomotives here. This is the Pennsylvania Florida Eastern signing out on this Train Talks. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.